Hi, I'm Nancy Bennett, and I am a director, a creative director, a content chief, a producer, a geek, a lot of things. And when I was 4, I remember sitting at the foot of my parents' bed, in the middle of the night, mind you, television on, and the sign-off came on air. And the white noise was blasting. My dad stirred and he said, "Do you know what that is, Nancy?" And I said, "What, Dad?" He said, "Those are radio waves from the Big Bang." I stared at that image for a long time. And ever since, I've been very interested in sight, sound, and science. Right now, in my life, I'm pretty sure I am the only female director making live-action virtual reality projects. Why? But why is that? I don't think it's the Y chromosome. I think it's the Y chromosome. It's about being curious. It's about seeking the things that titillate you, that interest you, that puzzle you, and seeking the interests of others to inform you about those interests. My parents encouraged our curiosity. They assumed we were intelligent, and they were interested in what we were thinking about and what we were compelled to explore. We had music and art and science, they were academics, around us all the time. Hers is a world of story and literature, and his was a world of scientific invention. It wasn't, "Nancy, do you want to play an instrument?" No. "What instrument do you want to play?" "The drums." "No, too loud." "The French horn." "Too big." "Too loud." "Okay, the violin." So I did play the violin until I was 14, at which point I urged my mom to rent me a French horn. And months later, I won a concerto competition. Now, I believe, and it's my experience, that if something interests you, because your curiosity has taken you to it, you are probably going to have some sort of proclivity for that interest. And that was the case for me with the French horn. And thank goodness. There was something else going on at that time. Along with the Big Bang, I knew I was gay. I was with my mom at the supermarket. I was holding her hand, and I looked down the aisle and I saw a girl in my kindergarten class. I was staring, and she gently pulled my arm, and I thought to myself, this is the way I feel, but not everybody's comfortable with it. I was curious about other people's feelings. I was sensitized to trying to understand what they might be. And that is empathy. And empathy is a marvelous skill to consider. And it's something that you pick up through curiosity, through being interested in other people and asking them why they do what they do, how they do what they do. That is how you develop empathy. It's interest, it's curiosity, it's compassion. And it opens the door for collaboration on top of learning many, many things. I loved music. I spent every hour of my adolescence, my childhood, listening to music, listening to it with my brother and my sister, needle-dropping records, listening to the radio, again, into the wee hours of the night. I thought about how the sound was made. I made up heroic adventures in my mind, crazy little visualizations. How did that sound work? How did it come out of the radio? So I took apart the radio. I took apart everything. And my dad, being a scientific guy, had a lot of gadgets. And it took him a long time to learn to hide them from me. Microphones, tape recorders, speakers. Watch one, do one, teach one. I learned how to use the soldering iron. I started to understand electronic circuits. And through that process, learned a lot about music and how it worked. I practiced a lot because I wasn't the greatest student, truthfully. I was a little ADHD, and when I'd read, I would fall down the wormhole of whatever sentence I found to go off into my own idea of what should be written. And therefore, the grades weren't terrific, but my horn playing was pretty good, and I could get to school via the French horn. So I went to college, to Northwestern, to study with the Chicago Symphony. The problem with it is that when I got there, I was told that I couldn't play an orchestra unless I was in the marching band. Now, that's not something I was very curious about. I didn't want to wear a military outfit or march in a precision style or carry a tuba. So I started skipping my classes and taking a lot of pictures, but mine was a world where a college degree was essential and dropping out was not an option. So I transferred to Boston University to study with the Boston Symphony and finish up that degree. And that process, not quite pursuing the passions I was after, taught me discipline. And the discipline and focus has been a marvelous asset as well. So around the time that I was in music and trying to get out of it into film, my brother had made 2 animated films about music. I was in. I was ready for that. So I went off to Los Angeles to pursue that. But right before I left, I went to see my grandmother. So my grandmother was a concert pianist in another century, and she toured the world until she was in her 40s when she had 2 children really late in life for that time. She also played on WQXR in New York during the Depression. But she had empathy, and she had curiosity, and she was fearless because she had pursued those things her whole life. And as a result, knew some of the greatest minds of that century. Einstein, Faulkner, O'Neill, Dr. Seuss, Ravel. So she was pretty cool. And when I was visiting with her, I was sitting next to her, and she was very hunched over from osteoporosis, and kind of at this angle. And I was wearing work boots, and we were sitting there watching a movie, and out of nowhere, she grabbed my knee really hard, and she said, "That's my boy." And I said, "Grandma, wait, I'm not a boy." And she busted up in laughter and said, "Boy, girl, what's the difference?" Exactly. 93 years of perspective, it was a very encouraging thing to hear, of course, because, we've all run into our problems in life, and I've had a few of those too, but it's best to go, what's the difference? Curiosity will get me through. So I went into film. This was 1980. It was a very important immersion moment, innovation moment in music video. MTV launched in August of that year, and I started to make my music film dream, and it coincided with that opportunity. You develop your skills in the area of your passion in lockstep with the emergence of new tech and new ideas and innovation. It's not an assignment innovation that comes to your desk by some magic ego, I'm entitled way. It's through pursuit of your curiosity and passions and interests and developing them. Developing a toolbox that you can reference and pull from, a systems thinking that allows you to see the wormhole that you can go down and make something happen. There aren't rules in an innovative moment, and that's where those skills are so helpful. And so we had to build tech that would allow us to do lip sync. If you look at the early videos in 1980, you'll see that the lips are flapping and the sync is not there. And everyone was doing something innovative, and everyone was talking about how they were doing it together. I had met a number of DPs, these are directors of photography, cinematographers, because I had been collecting their reels. I thought they were really magnificent, and I wanted to know how they were doing what they did. And I would call them up, like, "Hey, how'd you do that shot?" And have these great conversations with these guys, and they were mostly guys, and they would teach me. They taught me how to operate 35mm cameras, how to do crazy underslung rigging using U-channel beams, how to do sync with crazy strobes, how to roll with 2,500 frame per second film, to think about continuity and other things. Men love to talk about what they do. They love to share it, and they love to teach. other people. So be interested, and don't just lean in, jump in, step in, ask, be curious. Don't be afraid. And by being curious up until that point, you'll be confident enough to do that. So that's been my experience. So that revolution, that time, also had the first digital video asset opportunities, where you could capture video content and put it on a server and access it really quickly. This was a fantastic thing for those of us in the film and television business in 1990. We had been carrying around boxes of tapes and having to rent crazy expensive decks, shuttle through tapes to pull out examples of our work to get more work, and it was a costly, ineffective process. And I was working on one of the first nonlinear digital editing systems, the Avid Media Composer. And I saw an opportunity to start a company because I wasn't getting a lot of directing work, which was unfortunate. Thanks to the ACLU and their lawsuit right now, maybe some other people will get that opportunity soon. So, during that time, I started a company called BitMax. And BitMax is a digital video asset management company. I learned how to staff up engineers instead of filmmakers, and how to help them help me, how to collaborate with them, how to build new software and technology to do what we envisioned. And in that process, also learned how to raise money, how to deal with contracts in a more elegant way, how to deal with human resources and other things. So BitMax is now 17 years old. It has offices in London, New York, and Los Angeles, and houses Universal Music's video content internationally, and is also a go-to bureau for encoding for iTunes and Amazon. But I quit. Because I really don't think there's such a thing as a stable job if you're not doing what you really love. It was a service bureau, and I'm passionate about making creative. And right about the time that I left, I got a call from MTV. Hey, will you come to New York and design and launch a network for us for 3 months? Yeah, that sounds like fun. I had never worked on the network side, but why not? In 3 months, okay. So I went to New York and supervised the design and launch of the logo network, and also the hiring of the staff. There were 22 staffers, and learned what on-air promotion and design in that world was about. Again, this was 2005. There was no such thing as multi-platform content, i.e. online, on mobile, on air. So, perfect time of innovation for me. All the things I'd done to date, I could put into this iteration of the next phase of the moment. And like that and times before, no rules, just necessity, and lots of people working together to solve problems. With my staff, I insisted that they learn how to shoot, to edit, to write, to produce, to deliver, and make their own decisions about the content, and empowered them, I feel, to make some great firsts. One of the things they did was they pitched me a 25-minute comedy spoof that was one of the first instances of multi-platform distributed content at MTV. Also during that time, I started playing around with video games pretty heavily, and I'm really a 14-year-old boy. And while I was doing that, I discovered some virtual worlds. There.com, Second Life, there were a few of them. And I thought, well, this is an interesting platform for those who have disposable income, who are first movers in tech, and are isolated across the United States. I think I'll do a little presentation and pitch and see if I can get them to let me build one. So I did that, and I designed one. We ended up not building it, but that presentation was used by MTV to do all of their virtual reality funding. So it was a magical time, and because of that, I was promoted to Senior Vice President of Creative and Content at MTV and negotiated my return to Los Angeles because it became 5 years after 3 months. And I came back home because I wanted to, I'd been using the iPhone since '05. And during that time, I realized that touch and gesture was my cup of tea. I'm ADHD, reading makes me hallucinate, and what a great way to learn. These touch and gesture devices are magic in a bottle and are wonderful teaching tools, and so I thought it would be really cool to make a music educational piece, fundamental piece for kids, where they could get the fundamentals of music, of other arts. And I set about learning what venture capitalism was all about and how to navigate that world. And I met with many, many advisors, and there was one wonderful meeting I had that was probably an hour and a half long. And at the end of it, a gentleman said to me, Nancy, this is great, but I really don't think you're going to get funded. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, VCs know men, and VCs fund what they know. So get to know everybody. Make the world a little closer. Reach out and meet them. And I kept pursuing that path. But in that process, I was looking for a new technology partner to do this business. I met Brent Bushnell and Eric Radman, my current colleagues at Two Bit Circus. And thank God. These guys are curious, collaborative. They are not sexist. They're totally imaginative. And it was like being dropped from heaven into their lap for me. And they have built a culture. We have all built a culture together. It's a very collaborative environment where ideas are front-facing and most important, where curiosity is a collaborative, constant conversation, where I can sketch something and it'll be iterated, drawn, built, and tested the next day. It's mind-boggling. Perfect for doing virtual reality work. And when I got there, Brent and Eric and Hector and Dan, a couple of the other colleagues, had already been developing on the Oculus DK1, which was the first developer platform of Oculus. And we got a call from Wasserman about doing an IndyCar experience in Oculus 360 3D for Verizon. I spent 3 days researching how we could shoot this because no one had done it yet. And we went and did it the following Tuesday. It was a Thursday I got the call. We went and shot it the following Tuesday. We were given a half-hour window to get one lap at 170 miles per hour. We captured telemetry of the car so that we could put it into the motion platform so you could feel the rub of the road and the turn of the wheel. It was really exciting, certainly a risk, and fantastic. And we immediately got another call from Samsung and the NBA about doing an experience on the court with the NBA with 6 superstar players. So we built some helmets. And we tried some really crazy stuff. Don't let anyone say you can't do anything. There's a lot that people say you cannot do in VR, like move the camera, edit, ramp, put something on someone's head. We've done it, and we're going to keep doing it. We're going to do it until we get it perfect, and it's really fun. So we did that, and then we also did another piece for Verizon with Wasserman, which is kind of a dream scenario where you see the point of view of a punt return and get to experience that walk through the tunnel onto the field of Cardinals Stadium. We built a robot to give that point of view, to give that running. It was actually put in a motion platform for a presentation during Super Bowl, and 30,000 people went through it. This experience is actually being installed in Santa Monica at the new Verizon headquarters there, so go and check it out there. I'm looking forward to making a lot of VR content, and I'm looking forward to more women getting involved in making VR content. Virtual reality is indeed an empathetic platform. It puts us where other people have been, what other people are feeling becomes palpable. It's the whole world. It's a challenge. It's interesting. It needs emotional connection and collaboration. And I hope you all get to do that, and you get to be curious in your lives. Thank you.